Hey, what's up, y'all? I hope everyone's doing well. It's been a little while since I've been here. I've had my little babies with me over the past week, but yeah, I'm back. I'm glad that you're here, and thank you for tuning in. I've been thinking a little bit about what I wanted to talk about today, and excuse me, I can't catch my breath. The idea that came to my mind as far as today's talk was concerned was kind of related to some of the principles of NLP, and in particular, the presuppositions of NLP. So for those of you who might not be aware, presuppositions of NLP are simply just these presupposed truths, right? And that concept in and of itself is pretty interesting to me. You know, that we all have these presupposed truths that drive who we are in one form or another, right? And you know, it's interesting in the sense that there's one of the presuppositions in NLP is that the map is not the territory. And what that means is that the interpretation of the world isn't necessarily the world. I can give you a description of a tree, but that isn't the same thing as actually experiencing the tree, right? I can give you a description of a fish, or I can give you a description of anything that we can interact with, but the description doesn't necessarily align to, you know, the thing that it is that I'm trying to describe. So that presupposition of the map is not the territory is kind of like a good example that, you know, we all have these truths that we adhere to or believe in or abide by, right? And while that truth may be true for you, someone else might not necessarily align to that truth in the same way that you do, right? Someone else might not necessarily see the world from that same perspective. So, you know, it's fascinating to me from that perspective, right? But the presupposition that I really wanted to focus on today is one that basically says that the intent of your communication is how it's received. And it's an eye-opening idea. It's an eye-opening thought for many people who are on the path of either, you know, learning about NLP or just interested in improving the way that they interact and the way that they speak and the way that they communicate with other people. You know, one of the things that's commonly explained in neurolinguistic programming is the idea that communication really is, I think it's 7% what you say, the words that you use, 38% your tonality, the tone and the rate of speech that you have, and then 55% of your communication is interpreted through your body language. You know, so the idea that there's so much more to communication than just the words that we're using starts to give us or open up the kind of understanding of the complexity of humans as beings, right? And the many things and the many facets that we have to think about as we, you know, interact with each other and as we, you know, try to help one another and love one another, or, you know, position ourselves, you know, within an organization, or anything that we want to do in life really is based on kind of how well we can communicate to effectively get our point across and align with other people, as well as build rapport with other people, and then, you know, work in unison towards, you know, whatever goal it is that we have for ourselves, for the other, for an organization, or what have you. So the presupposition that the intent of your communication is how it's received really is this idea that it doesn't matter what we say as far, or what we mean when we say something. What really matters is how the other person is receiving what it is that we're saying. So if you kind of apply that idea, right, it gives you a little bit of I don't want to say an advantage, but it just gives you a wider perspective and more flexibility and more options as it relates to how you can change your mode of communication so that you get the outcome that you're wanting, right? For parents, right? Children don't always necessarily listen to a parent that's unbalanced or, arguing or yelling. And, it can cause, some resistance, right? It can cause some pain or hurt feelings or what have you. But, a parent that takes a different approach and perhaps, comes from a more calm or serene state whenever they're interacting with that child and kind of helping them understand, whether it's a disciplinary situation or, just a conversation related to guidance of how to be a better person or how to act within, the group, right? Coming from a calm, peaceful state with a slow and compassionate tone, right? And this open idea of how you present yourself and present your body language can be the difference between whether or not that young person absorbs what it is that you're saying and hears you from the perspective of, hey, here's a compassionate parent that's trying to help me understand and help me grow, versus here's a parent who's frustrated and scolding me or reprimanding me because of something that they don't necessarily agree with. And again, right, the map is not the territory, right? So I just find those ideas fascinating, in that if we start to communicate with the intent of understanding that the meaning of our words, the meaning of our communication, the meaning that we're expressing is not what we think it is, but rather how it's received by the person that we're communicating with or the people that we're communicating with. And that one shift alone is it's a fascinating paradigm shift for people, in the sense that it'll give you more options, right? It'll give you a different perspective and outlook on what it is that you say, how you say it, the timing of when you say it, and all those intricacies related to kind of how we're communicating with one another. So that's what I kind of wanted to share tonight, and it's been a very serene day for me. I feel like there's a lot of balance in my immediate world right now, and there's a lot of things that are happening and going on that I'm excited about, and I'm looking forward to kind of some of the developments that are going to unfold here in the near future, for myself, for my family, for this channel, and all that good stuff. So thank you for coming, right? And thank you for watching, right? And sharing or commenting. Really, the reason why I'm doing this is because I feel like there's a part of me that wants to give back and help other people, right, who may be either down on their luck or might not have confidence within themselves, or are just kind of looking for new techniques and new strategies and new tools to live a more fulfilled, a more joyful and complete life, right? So the whole idea of these talks and these live sessions, or these presentations, is really to expand our knowledge as it relates to these techniques related to communication, and then take it a step further and go deep within and start to reconnect with that that primordial sense of self, right? That essential sense of self that is such a kind of beautiful expression of every person, if they can figure out a way to get in touch with it and allow it to come through in who they are and how they live their lives. And so that really is kind of the driver behind why I do this. And the reality is that it wasn't always that way for me for a very, very long time. I mean, by far and large, the large majority of my life, right, I kind of lived in an unconscious state. I mean, so I knew about a lot of these principles and techniques, from a very early age, and I practiced meditation from a very early age, and did all of those things. But it would fade in and fade out, right? I would, be there for a moment and then fall back into that kind of subconscious, trance state, right? that most of us live in from a day-to-day basis. But slowly over time, you gather momentum and you develop strength and you develop consistency, right? And you develop, this thought around, repetition and familiarity and the subtle awareness of, a deeper sense of self, right? And opening those doors within yourself, there is this entirely different world, right? There's a different unfolding of the way that life presents itself. And for most of us, we live in a state of resistance, right? Because, we're completely consumed with, the expectations or the societal kind of requirements as it relates to, how we define success or how we define love or how we define family and how we define our relationships and our responsibilities. And most of us have a tendency to, focus the majority of our attention, the majority of our presence, the majority of our awareness on those external things. And when we stop for a moment and start to take a look inside, we find that there is this amazing gift that actually helps with, being able to impact and influence the external experience, right, that we're having, as well as, how we present ourselves and able to influence, the world around us, right? So, for me, it was a combination of the idea of really kind of understanding, what's happening physiologically, right? Because it was a trap. It was a trap for the longest time where, thoughts lead to feelings, feelings lead to actions, actions lead to results. And that, sequence can be, for the improvement of a person, but it also can be for the detriment of a person if you don't have a good grip on, what that internal process is like, what that internal dialogue is like, what those emotions that you're feeling are like. So, it took time, and it took focus and it took a little bit of effort, but, the combination of that and then, some spiritual practices, some meditative practices around, again, understanding a little bit more about the depth of who I am and, what I am, kind of led me down this path to healing. It was healing, right? Because there were some dark moments there. So, that being said, the point of this is to help, right? To help however I can and make, whatever small contribution I can to, to the world, right? And to humanity and to people who might be, struggling or suffering. So yeah, there are going to be some things that are going to be happening soon that I'm excited about, and you guys are going to see that, and you all will see that. So stay tuned for that. Please, continue to keep up and reach out. Don't be a stranger. If there's anything that I can do, and I wholeheartedly mean this, right? And I'm so grateful whenever, those of you who do reach out, because, it's kind of just validation for, this whole effort here. But if there's anything that I can do to help in any way, don't be a stranger. If there are topics that you think might be of benefit that you'd like to learn more about in depth, whether it's related to NLP or one of the other kind of subjects related around meditation or kind of conscientiousness or all of those things, hit me up, let me know. I'll be more than happy to put something together for you guys. Listen, I'm grateful for your time. Thank you for spending a few minutes with me this evening. Sorry I was away for so long. I'll try not to do that anymore. Listen, I love you guys, right? I mean, that's what it comes down to. I love you guys. Love one another. Love your families. Take gratitude in every moment that you have, in every opportunity that presents itself. And you guys be good. Take care of yourself. All right, love you. Talk to you soon.